Hey, Anna,
Hey, Mike.
I got to tell you, once again, Billy's coat, since we've been using Paw Ball, is looking amazing.
That's great. No, delighted to hear it. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
And guess what else I noticed?
What's that?
Well, the last time we were together and I saw Binksy, he seems to have a spring in his step now.
Interesting you should say that because I've so noticed that as well. Plus, he doesn't carry his back left leg at all at the moment because he's got that condition, leg calves perves disease.
Say that
So,
again.
leg calves perves disease. It's quite a long
Say it fast 3 times.
leg calves perves disease. Leg calves perves disease.
Mm.
So it's a really long name for such a small little dog to have it.
It's very common too, isn't it?
Yeah, it does affect a lot of terriers and it is totally curable, but it just means his left hip joint has been removed and his little leg is attached to his body with his muscle. So again, you can see how the collagen will be working as a structural protein to really strengthen everything around that area. So his kneecap and his hock and all of those muscles that hold everything together for him. But he does whiz along.
He does. I've noticed that. I've noticed that it was quite remarkable. And it's all down to Paw Ball and the collagen.
Well, it's an added supplement that we've been giving, and the results seem to be related to when we've been giving the collagen. So, whilst that's perhaps not a total scientific study, I would say it's strong anecdotal evidence to suggest that Pawball works.
So if people want to get Paw Ball, how are they going to get it at?
Well, they go to their website, which is pawball.co.uk. And our listeners, don't they, Mike? They get a special discount. So, what's that again?
They get 10% off their first order if they put in the promo code A Dog's Life 10. ADOGLIFE 10.
So easy, just a dog's life 10. Brilliant. And it's Pawable, PAWABLE.co.uk. Hey, Mr. Binks, you know it's mandatory for you doggies to have a microchip. And you understand why it's so important to keep your chip details up to date. Well, that's why we're jumping on Zoom now to talk to Debbie Matthews from Sampa and Amy Wigg from the new Pet Database, which offers a safer, more efficient, and above all free way to store your doggie's microchip details. And it's all to celebrate National Check Your Chip Day, which is tomorrow. I'm Anna Webb. Welcome to A Dog's Life. Debbie Matthews and Amy Wigg, welcome to A Dog's Life.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm so excited about this because Debbie and I certainly have known each other for many years, haven't we, Debbie? Really, since you began the campaign for vets to get scanning.
Yes, well, my dogs were stolen back in 2006, and I think I met you a couple of years after that.
Yes, that would have been right about the time when Barking at the Moon on Radio London kicked off. And yes, and that was really when, your case particularly highlighted that, there were some nasty people around that were more than happy to steal people's dogs.
It was quite unheard of back then. I had never heard of it at all. And hence the reason my dogs were in my car. I'd done that for years. My whole family had. You often left your dog in the car and would say nobody will go in my car because I've got dogs in it. But to actually have your car window smashed and dogs taken was a real wake up call. And since then, obviously, it's grown and grown and grown.
Yes, it really, really has. There's been so much campaigning. I mean, I suppose dog theft really hit the mainstream. Not that it wasn't mainstream before the pandemic, really, but it was the pandemic that I think drew politicians more aware of the whole awful state of affairs. And with great MPs like Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, who has been on this podcast, taking the reins to try and really make pet theft a specific crime. But unfortunately, I know there's been lots of other things on parliamentary's agendas, but nothing's really happened. Debbie, has it?
Well, the bill within Sir Ian, it was going to be put into the police crime and bill that has been passed and gone through into Parliament. But when Robert Buckland was moved and Dominic Raab came in, suddenly the dog abduction offence was put into the kept animal welfare bill. And that's where it is still now. And they promised us in November that it was going to be a specific offence. So we're now waiting for the kept animal bill to work its way through Parliament. Jordan Shelley has actually just started a petition because this doesn't just affect pet theft, it's the crop tier bill, it's the smuggling puppies into the UK. There's a load of laws which have all had the petitions, the MPs have agreed, it's all there, but they haven't made it law yet. And we're waiting for DEFRA to have the time. And you don't want to be sitting on that long. With dog theft still carrying on today, you want the deterrents in place today to stop the dog theft. And it's very frustrating.
It is frustrating, and obviously central to all of this really is the microchip. And of course, you know, it's mandatory. I think it became law in 2016, and that's all hailed as being like this massive solution to so many problems in dogs at the moment. You know, dog attacks as well, you know, accountability for your dog, you know, discussions of linking microchips to bringing back the dog license. Indeed, really to promote more responsible dog ownership as well. But that also hasn't really come to fruition either. But it is true though, Debbie, that the chip, when it works, it really works and has helped reunite countless dogs and their owners, even up to, you know, 7 years of being separated.
Yes, talking about Flash, who's just been registered, which highlights the problems that I'm very pleased Amy's here to talk about. But Flash was stolen 7 years ago, and the owner has just got him back home. And what happened was, a year ago, a very kind lady rescued Flash, who'd been used for, I think it was actually Flash is a girl, sorry, because she'd been used for breeding, and saved her, kept her, took her to the vet to get her microchip checked, nothing on her microchip, and kept her. And a friend of hers sent her a poster, a dog loss poster that she had, because there's lots of people on Facebook who reshare old missing dogs constantly to keep the dog in people's minds. And somebody sent the lady who had Flash the poster, and she sent it straight away. She looked at it and she thought, that is Flash. I know it's Flash. Contacted the owner, and the dog is now back. But what it turned up was that the microchip had no registration, which means the database had lost the registration information. And that's one of the big problems. A couple of the big databases changed their systems a couple of years ago, and they've just lost God knows how many. I mean, I constantly am seeing people saying, I can't get through, I can't make contact with the database, they won't tell me, I've got to re-register. So some of these people have actually paid for a premium service, which is sometimes about £18, and they then got to re-register their pets. And they don't know if the database is going to hold them or anything. So when Pet Database turned up a couple of months ago, we couldn't believe our eyes. This is like the answer to every problem that we've had with microchipping industry. Well, for me, it's about 16 years I've been campaigning on this, trying to get it right. So maybe Amy can explain about what Pet Database do.
Yes, absolutely, Amy. No, I'm thrilled that you've joined in this conversation because, you know, it's something, all of these different databases, you know, I mean, I agree, because the first database I registered Molly, my first miniature bull terrier, with in 2002 doesn't exist anymore. And we're with another one now that's quite well known. But keeping your chip up to date isn't always as easy as people think. And then this worry of systems crashing, which of course technology crashes all the time, then just, you know, for someone like me, I'm quite prone to being a bit anxious. It's not a good look, Amy, is it?
No, not at all. It's funny, Debbie. I think when we met, we got the biggest grilling ever, because I think it was the first time a pet database or like a microchip register had actually engaged with the Stolen and Missing Pets Alliance and actually reached out to Debbie and to Daniel and Alan, like Dr. Dan, and just sort of said, how can we help? I mean, our just to give you a little bit of context, we're a newly launched pet database, fully DEFRA compliant. We're one of now 19, I think, which is they're all run completely separately, totally private enterprises. They don't share their data. They all charge owners different amounts of money. And so we've been in the pet space for a while in a different guise. So we also run Tailster, which is a pet care marketplace. So we understand really how to manage data correctly and accurately. And we were brought in to work in behind the scenes with one of these said bigger databases. And being a pet owner myself, I mean, we're as passionate about our pets as we are about the businesses that we run. You know, even it's more about the pets, I'm entirely honest. And we saw just all of the issues that were just being swept under the carpet. And, you know, like we thought, this is just crazy. We can do this better. No one's really properly serving the pet owners. You know, we did some research ourselves. We put a survey out, and we had over 2,000 pet owners came back, totally from all parts of the country, like no affiliation to the microchip agency, just random pet owners. And it was just stark. It was some of the things that we were finding was just corroborated by this data. It's like 1 in 3 people don't even know what register their pets on, you know, and out of those that do, 1 in 4 is still registered with the breeder, you know, and then there's 30% of those that aren't with a breeder, aren't even chipped, aren't even registered at all. So it like really became clear that this is an issue. It's a huge issue, and it's something that, you know, for a database company to be charging people to update their data, yet have no accountability for the accuracy of that data, it's just insane. It's just, for us, it's turned into what was a nice business idea to a proper movement and a proper, this is a real purpose we have here. And we kind of knew from the beginning that this was important, but the more we dig into it and the more that people sign up to Pet Database, and the closer we work with, you know, with Debbie and also with Dog Lost, you know, they're fully in partnership with us now as well. We realize that, you know, we've got a small voice. We're just a tiny database against the big giants that have been doing this for 15, 20 years, whatever. But, you know, there's a real need to make chips count. You know, this is bigger than just us. This has to turn into a movement, which is why, you know, doing these things is super important. Educating pet owners is like the single biggest thing we can do.
And Amy, to make it human, if you like, to stay in touch with these people. You know, I'm lucky, I've never had a pet stolen, but, you know, I have an issue in that both of my bull terriers have had their chips migrate, you see, down the front left leg in both dogs. My vet actually shouted at me saying, you know, don't you know that it's mandatory to microchip your dog, when I took Prudence in just a couple of years ago for something. And I said, yeah, well, Prue is microchipped. No, she isn't. I said, no, she is. Why don't you just scan her left leg? Sure enough, the chip's there, which also proved that they hadn't tried to find a chip, by the way. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many levels on which it's all wrong, but I agree in terms of the complexity to change your details on these databases. You know, they make it seem like it's so easy, and I can honestly vouch for it that it really isn't, and it is expensive, particularly if you have more than one pet. You know, I have 3, so that's £18 or whatever every time. And yeah, Debbie knows I moved house 3 times in a very short succession. So, you know, it all adds up. So Amy, so explain a bit more then about your database. I mean, it's brilliant that you've launched, and it's brilliant you want to make change and help people like me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the point. It's about putting owners in the centre. You know, it's about putting pets in the centre of what we do and really being sure on our purpose. But I mean, what does that actually mean? So for us, it's your legal requirement as a pet owner to keep your chip details up to date. Most people don't realise that. And, you know, the biggest motivation really is to keep your pet safe. But nevertheless, there is a legal point here. Yet the other databases charge people just to do what's right by their pet and to fulfill their legal requirement, which just feels dubious and morally wrong, but also I don't even know if it's, I don't know, I don't want to say if it's legal or not, but for us it's just like, these businesses are run, they're fleecing owners for doing the right thing. So we've kind of flipped it on its head. So we don't charge owners anything, we don't charge rescues anything, we don't charge anyone in the whole microchipping sort of process any money to register with Pet Database. So, I mean, of course, it's free for owners to sign up, to make unlimited changes to their records as many times as they want in their lifetime. They can put all of their pets in one place. So it doesn't really matter if your breeder told you need to go to PetLog or you need to go to Identibase. It doesn't, the chip's not important, it's the data. So we take care of the data. So you can put all your pets in one place, know that it's completely safe. It's completely flexible. You can update it whenever you want. So that's our commitment to owners, but also to rescues as well, because it's a similar situation for rescues. So they now have 19 different databases that they have to update records on when they need to rehome a pet, and some charge the rescues even money. So it's just was a complete nightmare for rescues as well. So we're working with rescues now, and we're working with charities to see how well we can put all of your data in one place and manage that. It's what we do well. So, you know, everyone asks like, well, how can you afford to do it for free?
Yeah. Go on. Yes.
I know. It's like, where's the catch? Exactly. It's like, well, you know, in every other industry, you have advertising, right? Simple. But not in the microchipping agency. So simply, all we do is we have lots of pet brands, food brands, insurance brands who want to advertise to pet owners. So we will allow, so when you sign up to Pet Database, you can choose whether you want to receive this information or not. So you can say, I'm not interested, but also we have lots of pet brands that want to give freebies and do trials and offers. So it's kind of like a perk system. So it's actually a real positive if you do sign up, because you can get money off your food brand or whatever. So that's how we do it. It's a really simple model which works in every other industry, but not in the microchipping industry, because it all seems to be a little bit grey and shady. But it's just a really simple model which exists everywhere else, you know?
Yeah, no, of course. I hadn't even really thought of it like that. I mean, Debbie, this all must be music to your ears.
I couldn't believe it when I first spoke to Amy and Indy. It's just incredible, because it was like talking to myself, because I know all the problems.
Yeah.
And what they were saying to me was like, yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yes, let's go. That's it. So I was in, that was it. Fantastic. And the other thing that Amy hasn't mentioned is that if you have got a missing or a stolen pet, if your microchip registration is checked, you will be pinged,
Right.
which is a wonderful add-on, you know, because then you know that your dog is somewhere, and then you can make steps to try and find where your dog is. But that's another
for reminding me of that, Debbie. Thank you for that. It's great.
So just go back on that a bit, because I have actually begun to register Prudence with you, Amy. Actually, I just have to dig out her file, which has got her microchip number, or in there somewhere to add that in and what have you. So yeah. So I probably will move everyone over to you actually, as this sounds. Yeah, I love to support new. This sounds like a really good idea. So, okay, so take me through it again. So your dog's been stolen. You're completely frantic. You've rung all the vets in the local area. You've got posters going out on Dog Lost and so on. And you're tweeting like mad and so on, and ringing up your local radio station. So how will you be pinged? I mean, what are the guarantees that the chip is going to be scanned?
So there's two things there. Is the chip going to be scanned? So we can come to that in a sec. But when the chip is scanned, so all of the DEFRA compliant databases, they all work with a kind of central information point, and every DEFRA compliant database has to include a chip checker. So or a checker chip, it's often called. So if you go to Petlog's homepage or Identabase's homepage or PetTrack or whatever, there'll be a space, a section where you can enter your microchip number, and it will tell you which database that chip is stored on. Yeah, and that's one of the requirements to be DEFRA compliant. So at that point, when so a pet is registered with Pet Database, at that point, at the point that their information is entered into a chip checker, we know from Pet Database that that chip has been searched for. So and all databases know this. It's not like we've done something special. It's a piece of information that every database knows. We are choosing to share that information with the owners so that they know that their pet's details have been looked up or searched for. So it's basically keeping them informed that there's been activity on their pet's microchip, which is just a really simple piece of technology that any database can do, but we're choosing to put that information in the owner's hands because, of course, it's vital if your pet's gone missing or it's been stolen.
Right, yeah. So then you could work out that, vet over there has scanned Prudence's chip if they managed to find it down her leg. But,
and what a lot of people are doing just to test it out, which you absolutely do, when as soon as you sign Prudence up, get her chip number and put it into any checker chip just to test it. And you will see that if you put it in, you'll get pinged, you'll get an email almost instantly after to your address to say Prudence's microchip number has been searched on this database. So it's peace of mind, so that if anyone's, what people are doing with your chip details.
Well, that's good, but how do we take that then to finding where the chip was scanned?
So then that depends on the person who's skipped. So we're talking about a pet professional, so a vet or a rescue or a warden. They will sign up. So if they scan your chip and they see it's on Pet Database, they access the admin area of Pet Database. So this is where all the professionals will go to enter their details. And so we only share the information of the pet's address or the contact details with an approved pet professional. So it's not available to anyone. You have to sign up to Pet Database just as you do to Petlog or Identabase. You have, just so that you can access that owner's information. So at that point, we know who scanned it.
Right, brilliant. And then would I get pinged again to let me know? Yeah, so then I could just jump in the car and pick up my dog.
Or you would need to contact them, or they would contact you. The point is, it's proactively in the space of the vet or the warden to then contact you, because they will know your details. That's generally how it would go, or more often than not, because we're working really closely with Dog Lost, we would share that information. We'll talk daily about if there's any Pet Database pets that are with Dog Lost. We would always advise people to register with Dog Lost as well. Just to really be belt and braces, because they're ultimately the people that are going to do the groundwork of calling the wardens and linking it all up, because that's what they do really well.
I know Dog Lost is absolutely amazing, isn't it, Debbie?
They're incredible.
Yeah, and so Debbie, this
is exciting, isn't it?
It is exciting. Yeah, I'm so delighted to be chatting about this, to be honest with you. Gosh, so Amy, I hope you've notified people at a government level. I guess DEFRA will know about you. Have they gotten back with positive feedback?
Yeah, so everything because obviously what we're doing is kind of flying in the face of what are the agreed processes by the other databases. And the situation is DEFRA is kind of there at a very top level from a compliance point of view, but there really are, because it's again, I don't know if I can say this or not, it feels a bit like the wild west of databases, and it feels like there are a lot of processes that are being made up and changed that are not DEFRA approved between the databases themselves. So they kind of decide this is how we're doing it. So obviously we've come in as a free database, and we're challenging the way things are being run, and we're saying, hang on a minute, this isn't working, or that's not working. So we've been really clear that at every turn we consult with DEFRA, and we make sure that what we're doing is in line with them, and they're happy for us to proceed in that way. So absolutely, there's the deadline's passed now, but we put in a pretty robust contribution to the consultation on microchipping, just because, we understand the technology and the managing of the database part, and most of the other databases they sell chips. They have like a third-party tech agency that may or may not improve their database, but they're not in the business of accurately managing data. So and they're not all the same, but the biggies are where the real problems are. But yes, that was a long answer. But yeah, absolutely, everything we're doing is very much in line with what DEFRA, and we're making sure we're getting everything rubber stamped.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
I think ultimately, the point is the data on that chip does not belong to the chip company. It belongs to the registered keeper. So they can choose to put that data wherever they want. But of course, it's upsetting the apple cart because people are choosing to move their data to pet database, and so that represents a revenue loss to these other databases.
No, of course it does.
We're not really the favourites of the other databases, but at the same time, it's working with like Debbie and the Sampa and Dog Lost and the rescues we're starting to onboard. That's the power of the coalition. It's not about us, it's about everyone together, so we could change this.
Yeah, Amy, it is about doing what's best for the dog as well. Yes, at the end of the day,
it's about being passionate about the dogs. It's I can't believe that there are databases, and they're crucial in the reunification of these pets, yet they barely even pick up the phone to call the owner. The only time the owners are being contacted now is to say, why are you leaving us? We'll give you a cheaper deal. It's like, this is not an insurance salesperson. This is pets information. This is really important,
Yes, and I think it's brilliant. And also, I guess as well, technology has moved on in 20 years. So Absolutely. Being able to have so much more flexibility around databases, I guess. It's empowering and so forward thinking of you, Amy, as well. Because in a way, everyone with their own newsletters on their websites, it's kind of a database, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. That, and it's the challenge, not the challenge, it's the challenge/opportunity. It's like there's nothing particularly sexy about microchipping, and when you own a pet, it's the last thing you want to have to think about. So unless someone really spells it out to you that this is your responsibility, and if your pet goes missing, if they can't be reunified with you within 10 days or 7 even to say, I'm not sure, I think it's between 7 and 10 days, it could end up being rehomed, it could end up, owners don't realize this, and when they do realize, they're getting charged. So it's how do we make data be an important part of the responsible pet ownership, because most pet owners want to do the right thing by their pets. They absolutely do, but they're just unaware of what that is, or they've heard what their vet has said or their breeder has said, and not pointing any fingers, there's just a lack of clear information within the space.
No, I mean, brilliant. And I guess the others, it's a lot to have 20 databases for one thing, if you like. So, I mean, would then, Amy, so say someone has stolen your dog and then the dog's cut its paw, and so this villain's taken the dog to the vet, and the vet does just scan it, and your system then, as far as I understand it, will flag up this dog is missing or stolen. You've got the dates of when the chip was last updated.
Yes.
Yeah, which could then tally to, a fast-thinking vet. It could all add up thinking, not sure this is quite right. And that's something that other databases don't do.
No, that information can be shared, but it's not currently.
Gosh.
You would have to call the database up and find out. Yeah.
And you can't often get through.
No. And again, it is putting, as you say, on the responsibility on the vet. So then what do they do with that situation? But I think where the missing and stolen information becomes super important is when you sign up to Pet Database, we will instantly contact your existing database and say, are there any flags? So you're protected straight away. That's fine. But we will contact your existing database and say, we've just had a request from X to register this pet. Can you confirm if there are any anomalies or if this pet is missing or stolen? Because obviously that's the most important piece of information. You don't want people to be taking a stolen pet and re-registering it in their name. So that's something that we do. We check with the other database, and then it's to that database to confirm and corroborate that information with their registered keeper. So that's where the missing and stolen piece of information is really key.
Yeah, no, amazing. I mean, really doing absolutely everything that you can. So, no, I'm thrilled about this. So, Debbie, have you moved your dog over to the pet database?
Yes, Pepper is now registered on Pet Database, and I actually shared a post this morning about it. And I actually screenshot, because they actually say to you, Pet Database say to you, you have moved Pepper to Pet Database, and I screenshot it, and that's the post I put up, that she's now on Pet Database. But I'd just like to mention, Anna, that dog thieves usually sell dogs on. They're not the ones who go into vets, and it's the unsuspecting pet owner that has bought a stolen pet, has no idea the pet is stolen. So it's a shock to them as well as the vet. What the vet should do is contact the database straight away and say, we've had this dog in, and then the process will then start for the registered keeper to get in contact with either a lawyer, the police, or whoever, or the new owner, via the database, and things will be sorted out that way.
Via the database?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, because if, the microchip database holds the data of the new owner that's come into the vet practice. So what has to happen to get that information, you have to go to the police or a lawyer to request that information from the database, and then you can start proceedings to get your dog back. Unless the owner says, oh, I had no idea, I'll return the dog.
Yeah.
But you still have to contact the database so that you know that that dog's been in there.
Well, that's assuming that the new owner has put a chip in.
No, the new owner won't have put a chip in. They'll be living on the old chip, and that chip will be registered to the original owner. So you're talking about somebody who's bought a dog. They've gone to the vet for the first time. That dog is scanned by the vets, and the chip shows up as a missing dog. That's when the vets are obliged to contact the database and say, we've just had this dog in. Sometimes the vets will automatically just phone the new owner. But there is a process in place for if that happens. But dog thieves don't steal dogs to look after them and keep them. They're stolen to make money from.
No, of course, actually, yeah. No, silly me, of course. And indeed, they've all earned a lot of money from it.
Well, as you were saying, during lockdown, it was remarkable how many dogs were stolen, because more people wanted more puppies. So it was, feeding their puppy machines to get more puppies out there, which was quite shocking. And that's what it was highlighted during COVID, the dog theft problem. In a way, the dog thieves did us a favour, because that seemed to be the only crime that still carried on.
Yes, and it did raise awareness to people who, don't own dogs, or, so to a really big public level. I mean, it was on the 10 o'clock news, which, for the first time ever. So it was a good thing in a way. I mean, in a way, every cloud has a silver lining.
Yes, I know.
So it's a bit like social media. I mean, it's brilliant in terms of, putting messages out when a dog goes missing or is stolen. It's one of the more useful aspects of it in my view as well. Gosh, so Debbie, Amy, this is all so terribly exciting. I can't wait to do a screenshot as well, actually, and post it once I finish the transfer. So Amy, look out for Mr. Binks, Gremlin and Prudence, who will be joining the pet database family.
Oh, you'd be very welcome. Yeah, we all have to make chips count. Yeah,
let's make chips count. And that is actually the name of a campaign, isn't it? Or is it an awareness day that is tomorrow?
Yeah, so the broader campaign that we're working on with Sampo, with Dog Lost, is Make Chips Count. But actually, the day tomorrow is National Check Your Chip Day. So we're using National Check Your Chip Day as an opportunity to really drive awareness about the broader issues of microchipping. So we're working with quite a few of our new rescues that we've just onboarded, which is really exciting. So they'll be talking about it, as well as I'm sure Debbie will be joining in the conversation, as well as will the massive team of volunteers and coordinators at Dog Lost as well, who are full advocates. So we're hoping, it's the first year we're doing it. We're hoping it'll start to increase the volume, and then we'll just add more voices to that. So anything you can do to help would be really helpful.
Oh, no, consider it done. Well, gosh, thank you so much, Debbie, Amy, for joining A Dog's Life today. And I can't wait to let's speak in a few months and get the full update on how everything's going, and how the pet database is literally expanding beyond belief.
Hopefully we'll have taken over the world by then.
Yeah.
Please,
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think it's brilliant. So thank you again.
You're really welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Anna.
That's our show, Mr. Binks. What did you think? Yes, I know. I am going to transfer your details over to the pet database ASAP. Yes, you're right. It is time for Woof of the Week. Keeping your chip up to date couldn't be simpler with the new pet database. And it's free and packed with extra features. Go on, transfer your pet now. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, go on, rate and review the show wherever you tune into your podcasts. Thanks again, of course, to Debbie Matthews from Sampa and to Amy Wigg from the new pet database. All the links are in our show notes. Thanks, of course, to Mike Hansen, my producer. Find out more about him and his company at Pod People UK. I'm at Anna Webb Dogs. What's that, Mr. Binks? Yes, you're right. We will be back in your feed next Sunday. So why don't you subscribe now? Because it's also totally free. And that way, you'll never miss another show. Bye for now.